My name is Julia Bennett. I'm 33, and I thought I understood my family completely. That Christmas, I discovered how wrong I was. The night was freezing, the kind where your breath lingers in front of you, fingers numb even inside gloves. I pulled my coat tighter and stepped onto the driveway of my childhood home. The house glowed with warm Christmas lights, laughter spilling out like golden syrup through the frosted windows. I knocked once, then rang the bell. A shadow moved behind the glass. Moments later, the door swung open and I froze. Sorry, Julia, I think you have the wrong house, my mother said, her voice calm, smooth, unshaken. I blinked, the cold biting deeper. Mom, what are you talking about? Her face didn't waver. I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. I opened my mouth, searching for words. I. I'm Julia, your daughter. The door clicked shut. No slam, just a final, deliberate shut. I stumbled back, my heart hammering. The warmth of family cheer leaked through the walls, muffled laughter, clinking glasses, but I wasn't included. My phone buzzed. My brother Adam's name flashed. Don't be upset, he said when I answered, voice tinged with fake sympathy. We couldn't let you in. What? My voice shook, eyes fixed on the glowing windows. You know how it is. Complicated. Just don't make a scene. A scene? I realized then, he still thought helping with rent meant I was automatically included in their lives. My chest tightened. Silence followed. Cold, suffocating silence. I hung up. My hands trembled, not from cold, but from something deeper, something icy and sharp. By the time I got home, I opened my banking app. Automatic rent transfers? Canceled. Emergency account for the house? Closed. Gas card I'd given Adam? Blocked. Each click felt like a door slamming shut in my life. I didn't feel guilt, only clarity, only finality. I had always been the silent lifeline. When Dad's work went sideways, I saved the house. When Mom had emergency dental surgery, I paid for it. Adam, barely out of college, relied on me for every slip, every stumble, and for all that, I was invisible. A walking ATM with no emotional recognition. I remember the first moment it struck me. Thanksgiving last year. I had covered the dinner, roast, pies, wine. But when it came time for the family photo, they shuffled me to the side. Come on, Julia, Mom waved me away. Just take the picture. A little jab, I thought then. Misunderstanding. But the little things piled up. Adam got a new SUV for his birthday. My gifts never matched. Oh, Julia, you never needed anything. You're so independent, Mom had said. Independent? A polite way of saying alone. I covered student loans, rent, credit cards, utilities. When I hesitated, when I mentioned my own finances were tight, Mom's voice softened, disappointed, even condescending. Family is about sacrifice, Julia. Sacrifice. For them. Always. But that night, standing in the cold, staring at the door they shut, something inside me snapped. I wasn't a daughter. I was a sponsor. A silent provider in a family that never valued me. I went home, made coffee, and sat by my tiny, half-decorated Christmas tree. My phone buzzed incessantly. Mom, Dad, Adam, all calling, messaging, pleading. I ignored them. For the first time, I felt something warm under the cold. Not guilt, not regret, but freedom. By morning, 61 missed calls. I felt nothing. I had been the fix-it kid, the invisible safety net, the one who kept everyone afloat while smiling through exhaustion. That was over. And then the text started. Julia, please, we're family. Julia, what's happening? Call us. You can't do this. Adam needs that card for gas. Rent isn't paid. I didn't reply. I didn't even read them. That Christmas night, for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't loved for me. I was loved for what I could provide. And with that realization came resolve. The snow fell silently outside. The world seemed paused, holding its breath. I sipped my coffee, feeling the first flicker of autonomy, of control I had ever truly felt over my own life. Somewhere in the distance, the laughter and clinking of glasses continued. Inside, I smiled faintly, not because I was invited, but because I didn't have to be. The next morning, the sun slanted cold and pale across my apartment floor. I sat on the edge of my couch, staring at my untouched coffee, letting the quiet stretch around me like a protective cloak. The phone on the counter vibrated endlessly. Adam's messages, Mom's guilt trips, Dad's low, insistent calls, but I didn't move. I refused to. For the first time, I let the silence fill the space. Years flashed through my mind like fragments of an old film. Thanksgiving dinners I had covered entirely, from the turkey to the overpriced wine Dad insisted on, only to be shuffled off camera for photos. Adam's student loans, his rent when he needed time to find himself, the co-signed credit cards, the utility bills, the emergency hospital visits, all mine, always mine. And for what? A polite nod, a thank you that disappeared before the day ended, a cold smile that never reached her eyes. I thought of Mom. Her smile had always been practiced, precise, soft but cutting, a weapon veiled in warmth. Julia, you're so independent, she'd say, when Adam got a new car or a lavish gift. Independent. The polite word for alone. I had been alone for years, in the middle of my own family, invisible until they needed something. And Dad, passive, quiet, letting it all happen. His love existed in the abstract, a faint echo of what a father should be. He never intervened when Adam or Mom belittled me, never acknowledged the weight I carried. Michael was the only one who had seen me, truly seen me, over the past year. He had moved in 8 months ago, a steady presence, a quiet anchor. But even with him, the pressure seeped in. Family obligations, subtle guilt, and the constant expectation that I would give until I was empty. I loved him, but my family's shadow had a way of tainting everything. The texts kept coming. Adam's voice in messages, clipped, sharp. Julia, what the hell is wrong with you? Mom's crying. Dad's freaking out. You just cut us off. You can't just do that. We're family. Family. Funny word. I had given everything, silently, endlessly, and what had I received? Condescension. Displacement. The sense that my existence was only valuable in monetary units. I remembered my 27th birthday, the one they forgot entirely. I thought of the hospital visit for Dad's fall on the icy porch, of slipping $500 into Mom's purse for roof repairs last summer, unnoticed, unmentioned, unrewarded. I remembered Adam's beaming face at his birthday party, the one I paid for entirely, as Mom hugged him and whispered, "We're so proud of you." Proud of what? Of being able to leech off me? At the time, I hadn't realized the cruel pattern. I ran through the financial numbers in my head, mentally tabulating all I had sacrificed: rent, utilities, gifts, tuition, emergency bills, and more. Every sacrifice repaid with invisibility, entitlement, and subtle cruelty. The first pangs of anger had been buried under years of habitual giving, but now, in the quiet of my apartment, it unfurled fully. I wasn't just angry, I was awake. Fully, violently awake to the reality of my family's manipulation. I sipped my coffee again and considered my next steps carefully. I wasn't going to let them gaslight me, guilt me, or control me anymore. Not for Adam, not for Mom, not for Dad. And I realized something terrifyingly liberating. I could finally say no. I could step away. I could exist for myself instead of being their invisible safety net. The first ripple of their panic had already begun. My bank account, my canceled transfers, the blocked emergency card. They were probably realizing it even now. But my silence was deliberate, a slow, measured strike. Each ignored call, each unopened message was a declaration. I was done being their safety net. Michael noticed my tension that evening. We sat together on the couch, his hand resting lightly over mine. "Julia, you're shaking," he said softly. His concern was immediate, protective. I tried to smile. "I'm fine, just thinking." He looked at me with those steady eyes, and I realized how rare it was for someone to see me as Julia, not as a provider, not as an invisible servant to family obligations. The weight of that recognition made me ache in a good way. But the family calls continued to pile up, frantic and insistent. Mom had shifted from guilt to anger in her messages. "Julia, the rent isn't paid. Adam needs that card. You can't just do this." I ignored them all. My resolve hardened with every vibration. For the first time, I felt emotionally untethered. The familiar, suffocating guilt was gone. In its place, clarity, control, freedom. And yet, beneath the clarity, a quiet tension simmered. I knew this wouldn't end quickly. My family had always adapted to my compliance, but now compliance was gone. They would push. They would manipulate. They would demand. But this time I would not bend. That night, lying in bed, the snow falling silently outside my window, I felt the first real calm I'd experienced in decades. The world had not changed. The house down the street still glittered with festive lights, still full of laughter, but I no longer belonged to it. Not fully, not on their terms. I belonged to myself. And that, I realized with a thrill of fear and liberation, was the beginning of a war. A war not with Adam, not with Mom, not with Dad, but with the expectations and manipulations that had bound me for so long. This was my choice, my stand, my freedom, and there was no turning back. 3 days later, my phone finally rang with a familiar number. Mom's. I stared at it for a long, deliberate moment, then let it ring. The second call was from Adam, the third from Dad. Each vibration was a pulse of their desperation, their panic. I didn't answer, not yet. By evening, I knew I couldn't hide forever. The tension had grown into something unbearable, a quiet storm that needed release. I grabbed my coat and drove through the dark streets to the house I once called home. The windows glowed like a postcard, garish and perfect. The wreath on the door was twisted with fake holly and gold ribbon. I stepped inside without knocking. The room froze. Mom, tear-streaked, face blotchy. Dad, stiff and sullen, pacing near the fireplace. Adam, slouched on the couch, phone glowing in his hand. Their panic was immediate, raw. Julia, this has gone too far, Mom cried. Her voice trembled, desperate. We're family. You can't just... I can, I said softly, almost bored, letting my words hang in the air like smoke. The calm in my voice unnerved them more than anger ever could. Adam looked up, mouth opening and closing like he was searching for words. You can't just cut us off. You've been helping us forever. I stepped forward, cold fury simmering beneath the surface. Helping? I've been supporting you, yes. Keeping your house afloat, paying your bills, your emergencies. But I wasn't loved. I wasn't appreciated. I was a sponsor, invisible, until you needed me. Mom's sobs stuttered into a gasp. That's not... You're exaggerating. You know we love you. No, I shot back. You love what I can give you. Money, time, resources, me. I didn't exist. Not even for Christmas. Dad's face went pale. Julia, Save it, I interrupted. I showed up for Christmas, and you shut the door in my face. I paid Adam's rent, co-signed his card, covered emergencies, fixed the roof, and I was nothing. Not even a knock, just shut out. And now you talk about love? Adam leapt up, fury and panic colliding. Julia, you're overreacting. You can't. This is crazy. I met his gaze, steady. Crazy? I've been your invisible lifeline, working 60-hour weeks while you played video games, paying for your credit card bills, watching you get praised for potential I funded. I was used. That's crazy. Mom's voice cracked. Julia, we didn't know you felt this way. You never asked, I said, and now you can feel a fraction of what I felt. Alone, invisible, useful only when convenient. The room was silent, stunned. Dad's hands twitched. Adam's face drained of color. Mom's breath came shallow and sharp. You're being selfish, Mom whispered, shaking. Selfish? I laughed, sharp. Was it selfish when I paid Dad's prescription because his insurance failed? When I covered Adam's graduation trip? When I made sure the lights stayed on during Christmas? Adam opened his mouth, but no words came. You can't hold that over us, Mom tried again. Gift, I corrected calmly. A gift is something you give freely. What I gave wasn't a favor. It was expectation, disguised as gratitude. I fulfilled it because I loved you, not because I was owed nothing in return. Dad's jaw clenched. Julia, this isn't fair. We're your family. I know, I said, quiet now, but every word like a knife. That's exactly the point. I was family only when it suited you, when it required nothing of you. I am done being your safety net. Adam shouted, So what? You take your money and run? Leave us to suffer? I laughed. It was cold and sharp. Suffer? You're 24, still living off your parents. You're freeloading, not suffering. Mom's face twisted, her voice breaking. Julia, please, we love you. You can't just... No, I said, I'm not coming back. I'm free. I'll live my life for me, not for your expectations. And with that, I walked toward the door. Their gasps and pleas faded into the background, muffled by the sudden, thrilling quiet of autonomy. I opened the door, the cold biting at my face, and stepped out. The warm glow of the house behind me no longer belonged to me. Outside, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Calls, texts, voicemails, but I ignored them all. The snow had begun to fall again, slow and soft, blanketing the world in quiet. For the first time in years, I felt calm, untethered, and alive. Inside, my family was left staring at the empty space where I had stood. Shock, anger, fear, and confusion mingled on their faces, but I didn't look back. Their chaos was theirs. I had reclaimed my life, my freedom, my voice. And as I walked away, the laughter from inside faded, leaving only the soft hush of snow and the warmth of a choice finally made. I existed for me, not them. The days after Christmas were quiet, almost unnervingly so. No calls, no texts, no urgent knocks at the door. The world seemed paused, holding its breath, as if waiting for something to happen. I sipped my coffee by the window each morning, watching the snow blanket the streets in pristine white. For the first time, I felt alive, untethered, and unafraid. Michael noticed it too. He'd never seen me so unflinching. One evening, we curled up on the couch together, warm under a thick blanket, the world outside muffled by snow and glass. "You're lighter," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Like a weight has been lifted. I smiled faintly. I finally stopped being their ATM, their invisible safety net, their project. He nodded, understanding, silent but steady. He didn't ask for details, didn't push. He just let me exist without expectation. That kind of acceptance was new, almost dizzying. Meanwhile, the fallout from my family's reaction was subtle but swift. News traveled quickly in our small community. Mrs. Linda, my neighbor, mentioned one morning, "Did you hear? The Bennetts lost the house. Dad's job, Mom's spending. Adam's working at the grocery store now." I nodded, sipping my coffee. "Yeah, I left." "Wow, you really left them," she said, eyes wide. "How does it feel?" "Free," I admitted. And it was. No guilt, no obligation. Just a quiet, fierce freedom that I hadn't felt in years. That evening, I found the old family album shoved in the back of my closet. Pages yellowed with time. Photographs of birthdays, summer picnics, and Christmases long past stared back at me. There was young Julia, grinning, oblivious to the betrayals awaiting her. I ran my fingers over the worn edges, letting memories wash over me. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "Julia, we lost everything. Your father says it's your fault. Adam won't speak to me. Please, we were wrong. I'm sorry. Come home." I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I tapped delete. Not anger, not regret, just the quiet confirmation of my choice. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their love to validate me. Days turned to weeks. I cooked meals I wanted to eat. I took long walks without checking my phone. I worked on projects at my own pace, without interruptions or guilt trips. Michael and I grew closer, our connection deepening in the absence of my family's chaos. Yet even in this newfound calm, I felt a flicker of anticipation, the knowledge that life had changed for both me and them. I could feel the ripples of my departure. My family would adapt or crumble. I didn't need to watch. I only needed to hold my space and honor my freedom. One morning, the snow had melted slightly, the streets slick and glinting under soft sunlight. I stepped outside, inhaling the crisp air, and realized something important. For the first time, I was living my own life. No guilt, no obligations that weren't my own choosing. Michael squeezed my hand. "Where do we go from here?" he asked, voice gentle. "Forward," I said, looking at him. Forward was not about them anymore. Forward was me, and anyone who truly valued me could walk beside me, or not. And somewhere, in the soft glow of a new day, I smiled, not because someone needed me, but because I didn't need anyone to define my worth. The past lingered like a shadow, yes, but it no longer dictated the warmth of my present. For the first time, I believed in myself entirely, and in that belief, there was power, there was peace. Spring arrived quietly, melting the last remnants of winter's snow. The city streets were wet and glistening, and the air smelled faintly of renewal. I had settled into a rhythm that felt entirely my own. No more panic calls, no last-minute emergencies, no invisible obligations pulling at me. Michael and I moved into a new apartment together, one that felt like a home in every sense, warm, lived in, ours. He never asked me to account for every penny, every favor, every past sacrifice. He didn't need to. He just saw me, and that was enough. Occasionally, I received messages from my family. Mom's words oscillated between pleading and guilt, Adam's between anger and thinly veiled fear, Dad's between resignation and quiet frustration. But I didn't reply, not yet. I watched from a distance, feeling a strange mix of pity and relief. Their world had shifted, just as mine had. I remembered the family album again, the pages I had flipped through in winter. I pulled it from the shelf, dusted off the cover, and smiled faintly at the faces frozen in time. Those moments were part of me, but only part. They did not define my present, nor my future. One evening, Michael and I sat on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled. "You've come so far," he said softly. "You're different, stronger." I leaned back, letting the quiet of the moment wash over me. I had to be, I admitted. I had to stop being invisible, stop being a lifeline for people who only wanted me when it was convenient. I lost the weight of being needed, but in losing that, I found myself. He smiled, brushing his thumb across my hand. "And now?" "Now," I said, letting the word linger. "I live for me, and for the people who truly value me. No compromises, no apologies for taking up space." The news of my family's unraveling reached me slowly. The house foreclosed, Adam struggling to maintain a steady job, Mom and Dad facing mounting bills, and the reality of their entitlement. I didn't gloat. I simply observed, a quiet witness to the consequences of years of taking my generosity for granted. Time passed. Michael and I grew closer, building a life shaped by shared respect, laughter, and love that wasn't transactional. I reconnected with friends I had neglected, nurtured my own career ambitions, and finally allowed myself to dream without obligation. One evening, Michael asked, "Do you ever think about them?" I paused, looking out at the skyline, lights shimmering like scattered stars. "I think about what I learned," I said. "About myself, about what I deserve. I don't regret it, and I don't miss being their invisible safety net." The final message from Mom, weeks later, simply read, "Julia, we were wrong. We hope you're happy." I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I tapped delete. Not cruelty, not malice, just peace. The past was a chapter I had closed. I didn't need acknowledgement or forgiveness. I needed freedom, and I had it. The snow had long melted, and with it, the weight of years of invisible labor, unacknowledged sacrifices, and subtle cruelty. I had stepped out of the shadow of my family's expectations and into the light of my own life. And for the first time, I breathed fully, freely, and unapologetically. Michael squeezed my hand, and I realized the truth of it. Love could exist without obligation. Respect could exist without expectation. And I could exist without sacrificing myself to please others. I smiled, a quiet, unburdened smile, as the city hummed softly below us. The past would always be part of me, but the present and the future were entirely mine. I was Julia Bennett, 33, no longer invisible, no longer bound by the weight of others' expectations. I was finally seen entirely, and I would never let anyone take that away again.